Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Small Talk with Shibby, my LCS post-game interview content. I'm here joined by NRG's mid laner, the victorious Palafox, aka Palafaker. I bet you're feeling very, very good. And, Palafox, I want to get right into it. You got snubbed in the All-Pro voting. Your whole team got snubbed in the All-Pro voting. I think a lot of people would bare minimum vote you, some of your players, you included, at third team All-Pro at least. When you guys saw that come out and when your team kind of, in my opinion, gets consistently underrated, do you guys use that as fuel? Are you guys paying attention to any of that? Or are you guys most of the time just kind of focusing on your own game?
I think we definitely use it as fuel. I know, like, for me as an for me as an example, it's like look at the games I played against the people who are first pro all pro or like first, second, third all pro. It's like against JoJo, I kind of got stomped. He got stomped. Against Gory, we're 2-0 against them, and against MNS, we're 2-0 against them. Right? It's like not a like I don't even think they're like 2-0 versus each other. Or like like it's more even between them than it is against like us against them.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
no, go on. Elaborate, come on.
Oh, and at least like for Dokla, he's like, fuck, man. Like Dokla gets the most frustrated. He's like, I can't believe these players are above me. And I know like I'm sure a lot of my teammates are also like think they're a lot better than those players as well, and I also believe it. So
I would say, your team as a whole is also kind of underrated a bit, right? I mean, I feel like a lot of people kind of have burned that image of that, early start in summer where you guys were a little bit dicey, but you guys picked it up, really, really well. Obviously, in the latter half of the season, like you said, you're 2-0 versus the top two teams, both C9 and Golden Guardians. And even in Spring Split, you guys took the championship team to 5 games. Like, what would you say is causing kind of this underratedness at the moment? Because I think a lot of people were not expecting a 3-1 or was a 3-0 against Team Liquid, right? A lot of people were saying it was going to be 3-1 Liquid, 3-2. Like, what do you think causes the kind of underratedness for you guys?
I think it's just that a lot of people that don't actually know how to play the game, uh, like rating us, right? And that like
Fair.
unfortunately that's how it is. I think like even when you look at a lot of players and coaches, like when you pick them out individually, I don't even think that they have like a good idea of how to like judge a player correctly or judge a team correctly. So like I mean this game you saw it. I played 4 different champions. I think my jungler played 4 different champions, and it's like yeah, I just think it's like you can't just judge a team by what they do inside the game. It has to be judged as like a whole. How they are as a player, how they are as a person, what they're adding to like draft, draft meeting, like yeah, stuff like that.
And I would say, along with other people, that you and Team Liquid kind of face the same problems when it comes to kind of closing games out a little bit, right? I spoke to Doklo a while ago, back when you were kind of in that rocky start of the summer split where it was a win here, lost there, a win here, lost there. I think it was the week of that Immortals loss. And he kind of just said, like, our team's not really communicating that well. Like, there are problems that are easily fixable. Like, it's not necessarily like a meta issue or anything like that. How did you end up fixing those communication issues? Like, what did you guys implement? Because I think the transformation from maybe the first 2 to 3 weeks of your team versus the last couple weeks and now, it's a night and day difference.
Yeah. Funny enough, I think it's like my communication gets a lot better when I'm angry. Um, and that anger usually comes from like if I believe that somebody should be doing some other job and they're consistently not doing it, then I'll usually do what I can to take that over and keep it in mind, and then I'll start doing it. And then on top of it, I think that our AD carry FBI, he was really vocal about what he wasn't happy with, and I think
Mhm.
he also he's actually very similar to me in the sense that like if he notices a job isn't being done, then he'll also start picking up on it. So then now it's just a bunch of like I think it was after the C9 win, um, like during that week, the very first C9 win,
Yeah.
we started covering for each other a lot more. And then on top of it, we had a little bit of a talk with each other, and we're like, I want you to do this more. I want you to do this more. I'm not happy with this. And I think we were a lot more open with each other and just a lot more blunt with each other. That, and I think a lot of more people are putting in like so much more effort. And I think that really shows.
I do want to talk about the series in general as well, like prepping for a team like Team Liquid. It felt like you had the personal vendetta against APA a little bit. You were on the Jace, right? You took the Jace matchup as well. On the opposite end, you were kind of showing him how it was done on the Jace a little bit, flexing on him a little. And that was the strategy for NRG to get like a big mid advantage, or was it more for, you know, to attack Summit at the top side? Because it really felt like on the wins that you guys had, it was mainly pushed by like you just getting a natural advantage over APA, you know, in the games that you guys won. Like it was solo kills, it was farm advantages. You were forcing TPs early, you were forcing backs, right? It was just making the game hard for APA. Was that your general strategy, or is that just something that made whatever your strategy was a lot easier to execute?
I mean, going into the game, I know I had an idea about what APA's weaknesses were as a player.
Could you
And I
elaborate?
definitely
If you want, if you want.
I mean, I can elaborate. It's fine because it's just based on him. Well, one, I think that we had like a strategy to beat Ziggs. If he ever wanted to pull it out, or
In
we
case he
ever
brought it.
got the opportunity, like we needed to open the ban. And just like from watching his games, it seems like he's a very punishable player. Like he doesn't think about the angles that he's going to die to. Being an academy does that to you though. When you're playing against worse opponents, you're just open to a lot more angles, right? I also think that it's hard for a rookie to just play playoffs and play good immediately, like without a care in the world. So it's like there was one or two ganks where it's like he didn't even have to flash; he could have just maneuvered a little bit better, and then like it would have been really good, right? Um, yeah, and then like from there, it's like when I do have that advantage, calling what I want to do with it, right? Um, and I know like to some extent, I kind of know that I can be really greedy in a lot of matchups. Like in the Jace game, I took first strike sorcery, which nobody does. First strike sorcery, longsword refill, right? And that's like I'm taking the greediest runes possible to man because I know that it's like if I get through lane, and I'm only down 10 CS. I'm up like 1,000 gold, and or 1,000 gold with the stats because of with the runes I took. And I kind of just like felt like I could, yeah, just get away with that type of stuff.
I do want to talk about your kind of additions to this squad in regards to your bot lane. Obviously, last split, you were playing with Luger and Boom. Now you have FBI Ignar. I think a completely different bot lane in of itself, and supports as well. Ignar is a very different kind of player. How was it kind of integrating them into the squad and into your guys' team, right? Was it difficult in the beginning? Obviously, I don't know if that's, you can necessarily put the blame on them for the losses. I wouldn't do that. But when you integrated them into the roster, was it kind of difficult to understand how they like to play, what they like to do? Or like you said, you figured out later on that you and FBI are very similar when it comes to, like you said, calling for resources, calling for what we want to do with advantages and stuff like that. How was that kind of playing with them after playing with, you know, your original team for about 3 splits, about 1.5 years almost?
Yeah. It was only different because they're different players. I need to get used to not just me. Sorry, the team needs to get used to each other in the sense that like we need to know what champs they want to play. We want to know what style they want to play. Um, we need to understand how they understand the game, and then like obviously communication is like a bit different, right? So like the thing I said about like some players on our old iteration of the roster with Puma and Luger, they used to do like different things and they used to say different things. And
Mhm.
like let's say with the new ball in, it's like maybe they don't say the same things, or like they're doing different jobs, but they're like taking over other ones, right? So we just need to shift our communication structure. And I think like you did see that in the first couple of weeks where we're like a bit shaky. We don't know how we want to play. And like I think that we did a really good job of like shifting our communication structure to become just like a way better team.
I feel like your 2v2 mid jungle with Contractz is probably one of the more underrated duos. I think having Contractz as a jungler and having somebody so flexible and adaptable in that
Yeah.
space helps you become a very good mid laner. What is your opinion, I guess, on Contractz as a player and, you know, kind of laning with him and playing with him for so long? Like, is he kind of a mid laner's best dream, right? Does he play for you, having him so adaptable? Like, what is it like kind of really playing with him? Because he's a guy that's been in the league for a very long time.
Yeah, I actually I mean, huge props to him. I think he's playing like really, really good. And I think like during the end of the early in the split, Juana's a little bit of a slacker, but this split actually he was putting in a lot of work. And I think like we play off each other really, really well. I think he picks up champions really fast, and I usually pick up champions really fast as well. So like I think we just play off each other. We also really want to kill the enemy like team, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the type of thing where like if one of us wants to try something new, then we'll usually like sacrifice for the other person. And then like basically I mean we're still getting to this part, but like if we're sacrificing for them, you better play well, you know? So I think that's just like a nice like bond we have. And on top of it, I think like Juan is just a really, really, really creative jungler, and I think he looks for a lot of angles that a lot of other junglers don't actually look for. Like if I had to be completely honest, like I think our mid 2v2 is probably the best in the league, but I mean like who else would you say is like a better 2v2? Like Blabber MNS isn't a 2v2, it's just Blabber playing, right? Um I think like
Gory
they're really
River?
Gory River. I think Gory River is like really far or like really, really good, but I mean you can see like our mid 2v2 has won against them like multiple times, right?
Yeah,
So
you
it's
guys
like
have the record. You guys have the props for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I mean this is where like the all pro voting and stuff like where we feel we get snubbed. It's like well we're beating these teams, you know, and like a lot of it is because we're playing really, really well together. So
Final question here as we are kind of rounding down the minutes. Obviously, I think you guys are clear underdogs. I don't think anybody is rating you to beat you know, teams like GG, C9, stuff like that. When it comes to preparing for those kind of teams and having the mentality, do you guys play with a chip on your shoulder, or is it more of like, you know what? We have the regular season record over these guys. We know we're better. We 2-0'd both of them. Like, what is that mentality like now that you're, you know, one best of 5 away from essentially qualifying for Worlds?
I think it's I mean I think we all know we're better than them and we do have the chip on our shoulder to prove it. Um It's like FBI's comms this game. We're like, these guys are fucking shit. Like, let's just kill them, you know? Like, that's what like teamfight comms are like sometimes, you know? And I mean, I think everybody just kind of gets like hyped up like from each other. And I think that like, I don't know, for sure we think we're better than these guys. To be fair though, sometimes we get a little bit too high fee. And I think that that's where the main issue comes in, where it's like, let's go, we can kill them. And then it's like, oh, wait, fuck. Like, we can't, you know, like
Yeah.
we shouldn't be here. Yeah.
Any final message to the NRG fans that may be watching, Palafox?
Yeah, I hope to make you guys proud this split.